On a battlefield littered with the bodies of fallen monsters, the dark silhouette of a towering demon castle looms ominously in the background, casting a foreboding shadow over the carnage. A figure in purple and silver armor, Kai, is seen clutching his arm in pain, gritting his teeth, and sweating as he breathes heavily. Despite his suffering, he thinks about how his group has finally cornered the Demon Lord. Kai, a Black Mage, leads a small squad consisting of a priest, a knight, and a female warrior. Although he bears the brunt of the damage due to having the weakest class, Kai's thoughts drift toward Colette, a beautiful blonde girl who serves as his motivation. With a determination fueled by this memory, Kai prepares to cast a spell. Suddenly, the knight calls out to Kai, instructing him to stop the Demon Lord's movements. Kai begins chanting a binding spell, Bloody Bind, summoning red aura and magical hands to capture the Demon Lord. As a magic circle forms beneath his boots, Kai is focused on his mission. Unexpectedly, the knight, whose face now shows a twisted smile of triumph, reveals his true intentions. He mocks Kai for being a shitty black mage and suddenly stabs him in the back, the sword piercing through Kai's chest. Kai is left in shock and pain, unable to understand the betrayal. The priest, Johann, a high-class saint, joins in the treachery. With a smug smile and a holy robe, he stands over the wounded Kai, who is now crouching on the ground with the sword lodged through his body. Johann disdainfully explains that it was unreasonable for someone as evil as a black mage to be in the company of the highest classes, even if ordained by God. Kai, racked with pain and confusion, tries to reason with his companions, reminding them that he had always helped them. However, the female warrior, Urza, a powerful magic swordsman, bursts into laughter at his words. Her fiery red hair and battle-scarred body reflect her ruthlessness as she taunts Kai, calling him presumptuous for thinking he had helped them. As Kai grows weaker with each breath, his body encased in a fading purple aura, he reflects on the past 5 years of hard work. He realizes that there was only one step left in his journey, but it has been snatched away by betrayal. A flashback to the past reveals a pivotal moment when Kai and his peers turned 15 and were given their special abilities, or classes, by God. Kai had received the Black Mage class, a dark magic class hated by society for its demonic associations and considered the weakest of all. As a result, Kai was bullied and scorned. Returning to the present, Urza continues to mock Kai, her boot pressing down on his head. She tells him that her share of the reward will be reduced if he remains alive, urging him to die. Meanwhile, the knight, Kai's younger brother, tightens his grip on the sword embedded in Kai's back and declares that with Kai out of the way, Colette will be his. He twists the blade, intensifying Kai's pain and causing him to scream in agony. Kai's thoughts once again drift to Colette. In another flashback, a nobleman tells Kai's father that black mages and saints are incompatible, and the engagement between Kai and Colette would be broken off. Colette, devastated, had protested against her father's decision but was powerless to stop it. In their final goodbye, she had given Kai her golden bracelet, asking him to take care of it. As Kai now lies dying on the battlefield, his screams echo, and his thoughts are consumed with the memory of Colette and the betrayal of those he once called companions. In the past, Kai recalls how his heart sank when Colette, the girl he loved, was torn away from him simply because of the class he was given. Despite her tears, Colette had told him that they would surely meet again, though her father had forced her to say goodbye. In the present, Kai's younger brother, who had stabbed him in the back during their mission to defeat the Demon Lord, couldn't contain his sadistic laughter. Leaning close to Kai's ear, the brother reveals that both Colette and their father had instructed him to kill Kai. Kai remembers his father, the head of the prestigious Austen family, who had trained many brave men. His father had scorned him, saying that they didn't need a black mage in their home, but offered Kai a chance to redeem himself. If Kai participated in the Demon Lord's subjugation, he would be allowed to return to the Austen family. His father had also promised to take care of his engagement to Colette, Kai's childhood friend. Shortly after that, Colette had been confined to a room in the royal palace, where she was forced to pray and create a great barrier to protect the holy city. She was seen praying behind bars, and Kai had been determined to defeat the Demon Lord so that Colette would be freed and they could marry and live peacefully together. He had fought through countless painful battles, sustaining injuries all over his body, in his effort to restore his father's trust and reclaim Colette. After years of struggle, Kai had finally reached an incredible power level, his caste level hitting 999. Despite this achievement, his younger brother callously mocks him, saying it's a shame that the older brother was killed by the Demon King, further betraying Kai's efforts. As Kai lies dying, Filled with regret and sorrow, he realizes that he was simply used by his father and brother. He curses his fate, tears of frustration flowing as his brother grins sadistically, telling him not to annoy them anymore. The younger brother promises to take full care of Colette once Kai is dead, preparing to end his brother's life. Kai's fingers scrape the ground as the last moments of his life slip away. In his final thoughts, he wishes he had taken Colette and run away, abandoning the world's expectations and pursuing their own happiness. He realizes that if he had known this betrayal awaited him, he would have followed his heart and protected Colette. At that moment, the blue gem on the bracelet Colette had given him shatters. Suddenly, Kai hears Colette's voice in his head, pleading with him not to die. Her voice feels distant and filled with sorrow. Kai, now on the brink of death, wishes to see Colette one last time. In a surprising twist, the scene changes to a peaceful room with birds chirping outside a window and books neatly arranged on a shelf. Kai wakes up, not in the afterlife, but in a comfortable bed. Confused and disoriented, he hears Colette's familiar voice calling to him, asking how long he plans to sleep. Still in shock from the events he just endured, Kai looks around and sees Colette by his side. Stunned, Kai asks why Colette is there, as she was supposed to be imprisoned. Colette, worried, notices that Kai is soaked in sweat and asks what happened. To his surprise, Kai realizes that there are no wounds on his body. He begins to question what is happening, unable to comprehend the situation. Colette, with her usual tenderness, dries him off with a cloth and greets him with a good morning. Kai, still perplexed, notices that Colette looks much younger than she should. Although she should be in her 20s by now, she appears youthful, which further confuses him. Colette blushes shyly as Kai stares at her, prompting her to ask if he is half asleep. She reminds him that today is their special day, to which Kai, slightly embarrassed, apologizes. As Kai looks into a mirror, his confusion deepens. He realizes that he too appears much younger than before. Shocked and unsettled, he begins to question the reality around him, unsure of how he ended up in this place with Colette, free of the pain and betrayal he had just endured. Colette reminds him that today is the class revelation ceremony. Kai, still confused from his recent experiences, suddenly has a worried expression. He responds enthusiastically, though confusion still lingers, as the mention of the ceremony strikes a chord in his mind. Internally, Kai grapples with the sudden realization that today is the revelation ceremony, a significant event in their world. As he starts to come to his senses, he grabs Colette's shoulders and urgently asks what year it is, which only confuses her more. Kai then exclaims that he's not yet a black mage, his face inches away from Colette's, causing her to blush and push him away. As Kai processes this moment, he questions if it's all a dream. However, the clarity of the moment makes him realize that it feels too real to be a dream, and the thought strikes him that he might actually be back in the past. After apologizing to Colette, Kai notices something strange about his hand. As he inspects it, he sees a black emblem imprinted on the back, something that should not be there. Colette, equally surprised, points out that Kai already has a heraldry, a mark indicating his class, despite it being before the official revelation ceremony. This perplexes Kai, as he recalls that his heraldry shouldn't appear until after the ceremony. Kai questions why he already has a class before the ceremony and commands a status window to open. A set of floating blue screens appears, showing his stats, class, Black Mage, level 999 with no skills. The stats are identical to those he had before he died in his previous life. It's revealed that he is in a status-blocked state and has entered it for the second time. Confused, Kai focuses on the words second time, realizing that something inexplicable is happening. Kai's mind races as he contemplates the unusual events occurring one after another. It becomes clear to him that he has been sent back in time. This realization puzzles him further, as no magic he knows of could perform such a feat, not even the powers of the Demon Lord. He recalls hearing Colette's voice before he lost consciousness in his previous life, which strengthens his belief that her powers are involved. Colette interrupts his thoughts, holding his marked hand and asking if he's okay. At that moment, a gold bracelet falls from the bed with a metallic clang. The blue gem in its center still shattered, and the memory of Colette flooded back to Kai, the last time he saw her in his previous life and her promise to meet again. When he lay dying, her desperate plea for him not to die was the last voice he heard, echoing in his mind. Kai stands up, grasping his wrist where the bracelet used to be. He realizes that Colette's saintly powers, specifically her saint power, might have been the reason for his return to the past. Filled with excitement, Kai hugs Colette, exclaiming with joy that it was her who saved him. He becomes energized by the belief that, with his knowledge of what happened in the first timeline, they can change the future. Colette, completely confused, tries to calm Kai down, but he remains determined, vowing never to let her go again. He reflects on the bleak future where Colette was imprisoned and where he was killed, resolutely deciding that he will change it. His emotional outburst catches Colette off guard as he holds her tightly, causing her to stammer in confusion. Realizing the situation, Kai blushes and apologizes for his sudden embrace. Blushing as well, Colette admits that she doesn't mind but was simply surprised by his actions. As she reminds him that she is his fiancée, she hints that even if he wanted to express his feelings physically, she wouldn't be opposed. Kai, taken aback by her words, briefly forgets the gravity of the situation. But as reality sets in, Kai's thoughts turn serious again. He recalls the challenge that awaits him, his father discovering that he is a Black Mage. He looks at Colette, who gazes at him with concern in her eyes. Kai reflects on his father's cold words, dismissing him as a Black Mage and declaring that such a filthy class had no place in their home. He explains how some people believe Black Mages are closer to demons, which is why their engagement is uncertain. Before he can finish, Colette interrupts, passionately reassuring him. She insists that there is no real difference between a Black Mage and other classes. In her eyes, Kai is still Kai, regardless of his class. As Kai observes Colette, he reflects on her unwavering support. Despite everything, Colette had never changed. She had never altered her attitude toward him, even after discovering his class as a Black Mage. While the world may hate him, Colette has always reached out to him, standing by him until the very end. He acknowledges that he trusts no one, except for Colette. To him, she is the one constant, the one person he can rely on. Kai, turning serious, asks Colette to listen carefully. He tells her not to be surprised as he reveals something extraordinary. Colette, puzzled, asks what happened. Kai then reveals that he has returned from 5 years in the future. The current version of him, standing in front of her, is a level 999 Black Mage. He emphasizes this by showing her his heraldry, the mark of his class. Colette, shocked, raises her hand to her mouth, barely able to process what she's hearing. She exclaims in disbelief, trying to comprehend the idea of Kai being from the future and reaching such an unbelievable level. Kai promises to show her proof. He extends a finger, summoning a red magic aura around himself. He begins chanting a spell, and from the depths of the earth, an archdemon, a roaring horned creature with sharp teeth, emerges. Colette, frightened and awestruck, screams in terror at the sight of the towering demon. Kai confirms that the beast is indeed a devil, explaining that as a level 999 Black Mage, he can form contracts with high-tier demons like the Archdemon. He points out that the contract he made in the first timeline is still valid, serving as proof that he can still wield the dark magic he had mastered. More importantly, it proves that his journey through time is real. Kai reflects that in their previous life, he and Colette have fulfilled their dream of being together. However, knowing this, he realizes he must act quickly because today is the class revelation ceremony. More significantly, today is the day the Demon Lord will be born. As the fully summoned Archdemon crouches in Kai's room, its immense size becomes clear, towering over Kai despite crouching. The beast, with long white hair, a tail, sharp claws, and menacing fangs, displays its immense power in a confined space. Colette, overwhelmed by the situation, collapses to her knees in shock, unable to comprehend the gravity of the situation. The summoned demon, addressing Kai with deference, eagerly awaits its master's orders. Kai, surrounded by a faint red aura, seems pleased with the outcome. He smiles slightly, satisfied with the demonstration of his power. Colette, still in awe, can barely speak as she stares at the demon and then at Kai. Her astonishment is palpable as she mutters Kai's name, still processing what she has just witnessed. The archdemon kneels before Kai like a knight, its immense head and neck dwarfing Kai's body. Kai, sensing that Colette is frightened, apologizes for scaring her, but reassures her that this was necessary to prove that he is indeed a level 999 Black Mage. Colette, despite her shock, tells Kai that she never doubted him. She knows that Kai wouldn't lie about something like this, though she admits she was taken aback by the sight. As the couple stares at each other, Kai addresses Colette again, this time with a more serious tone. He tells her that the future can now be changed. Colette, though still amazed by what she has seen, begins to understand the significance of what Kai is saying. She acknowledges the incredible power that Black Mages possess, realizing that they can master various types of magic and summon powerful beings like the Archdemon. Kai takes this moment to reinforce the importance of what's to come, warning Colette that today, she will receive the Saint class and Ares, Kai's younger brother, will be granted the Brave class. Kai expresses his concern, knowing that if Ares becomes the Brave, it could spell disaster. Colette, confused by the mention of Ares, questions why this is a problem. Just as the words left her mouth, the door behind her creaked open, and a shadowy figure slipped into the room. It is revealed to be Ares, Kai's younger brother, whose treacherous nature becomes clear. With a smug expression, Ares greets his brother, asking mockingly if Kai had called for him. Kai's face darkens with a serious frown, remembering the betrayal he had suffered at the hands of Ares not long ago, when Ares had driven a sword through his chest. Kai coldly addresses his brother by name, while Colette, clinging to Kai's arm, reacts in shock at Ares' arrival. She questions what Ares is doing here, while Ares, exuding confidence, asks if the archdemon has left. His hand rests on the hilt of his sword, confessing that he had overheard Kai and Colette's conversation. Kai, fully alert, remains cautious, recalling the treachery of his brother. Colette stands firmly by Kai's side, ready to support him. Ares continues to prod, feigning ignorance about the archdemon, before shifting the topic to himself, accusing the couple of talking behind his back. Colette quickly defends herself, insisting that she wasn't speaking behind Ares' back. Ares, however, turns his attention to her, suggestively whispering in her ear and asking why she's with someone like Kai when she could be with him instead. Enraged, Kai fiercely orders his brother to back off, like a lion protecting his mate, which only provokes Ares further. Ares, now even more jealous and displeased, refuses to leave, slowly unsheathing his sword. Kai remains silent but determined, ready to fight for Colette. Ares taunts him, mocking Kai for his trembling fingers and calling him pathetic. At that moment, a guard from the Austen family interrupts, addressing Ares and telling him that the Duke is calling for him. Ares begrudgingly sheathes his sword, though he lingers in the room, his presence like an unwanted shadow. Kai's expression remains thoughtful, weighed down by the complicated relationship with his treacherous brother. His troubled thoughts are momentarily soothed as he looks at Colette's reassuring face. She, in turn, looks back at him with concern. Kai suggests they leave, and Colette agrees, the tension still lingering in the air. As they exit, Ares watches them, his jealousy evident as his eyes follow Colette. Kai and Colette walk through the town together, this being Kai's first time with Colette in 5 years. Kai, looking at the familiar streets and people, feels a sense of melancholy. Colette, understanding how long Kai has been away, acknowledges that it must be strange for him. Meanwhile, the townspeople begin to notice them, whispering and peeking out of their homes. One of them calls out to Kai, addressing him with respect as Kai-sama. Kai reflects on the title, realizing that despite the respect he still receives, this will change once people discover that he is a Black Mage. A shopkeeper thanks Kai for taking care of some troublemakers, but Kai knows that their admiration will soon turn to scorn. Colette, unaware of the full truth, comments on how loved Kai is by the townspeople, praising his hard work. Kai remains silent, knowing that soon everything will change. Turning to Colette, Kai tells her they need to continue their conversation. He explains that later, Ares will be granted the Brave class during the ceremony, but soon after, he will make a terrible mistake. Ares' actions will lead to the birth of the demon lord, Griselda, and in just 3 days, the Holy Kingdom will face devastation. Kai, having come from the future, sees the horrific images of the kingdom's destruction, knowing that half of the people will perish. Colette, once again speechless, struggles to process what Kai is saying. He continues, explaining that to protect what remains of the holy city, a great barrier will be erected. For the sake of this barrier, Colette will be imprisoned in the royal palace. Meanwhile, Kai will receive the Black Mage class and be exiled from the Austen family. This will cause them to be separated. Horrified, Colette immediately protests. She refuses to accept this future, declaring that she wants to be with Kai always. Her words reassure Kai, and he asks if she would come with him, suggesting they stay together. Colette, overwhelmed with emotion, interprets this as a proposal. Elated, she leaps into Kai's arms, hugging him tightly. Kai, reflecting on his past life, regrets not having done this sooner, thinking that everything would have been better if he had embraced Colette earlier. The scene shifts to Colette, now dressed in a simple brown robe, sitting on a white horse. She is preparing to leave, with a few belongings packed on the saddle. Kai holds the reins of the horse, steadying it as he gives her instructions. He tells her that she will escape the calamity of war by hiding in the Lakes village for a while. It will take her about 3 days to reach the village. Colette, pulling up her hood, asks if Kai will be coming with her. Kai replies that he must stay behind. His mission is to stop Ares and prevent the birth of the demon lord. Colette, full of admiration, exclaims her faith in Kai, confident that he will do his best to protect everyone. Kai responds quietly, though a heavy weight of truth hangs over his words. As Colette waves goodbye and sets off, she promises to wait for Kai and urges him to pick her up soon. Kai, with a warm smile, assures her that he will sort everything out and come for her as promised. However, deep inside, Kai knows that Colette is mistaken. This mission isn't about saving everyone, it's for his own sake. Kai's true goal is to rescue Griselda from Ares before she becomes the Demon Lord and to forge an alliance with the demons. Their cooperation will be critical in fending off the inevitable pursuers from the future. Kai had learned this bitter truth during the battle against the Demon Lord. He recalls a past encounter where the Demon Lord confronted Ares, Sasha's enemy, recognizing him as the one responsible for a tragic event. Ares, both dismissive and guilty, casually acknowledged the accusation, but remained unbothered. Kai reflects on how no one knew that the so-called hero, the brave, would actually become the cause of humanity's downfall. By saving Sasha, Griselda's friend, Kai hopes to prevent the birth of the Demon Lord. With his mind focused and his aura glowing, Kai prepares himself for the upcoming battle. Determined, he vows to rebel against the fate that looms over them. As he readies for action, footsteps echo in a dark stairwell. Ares descends, holding a whip, heading towards a dungeon. In the dungeon, a prisoner remains shackled. Griselda, an attractive demon girl, her pupils red and ears pointed, with silver hair tarnished by blood and bruises. Her clothes are torn, exposing flesh marked by cruel whiplashes. Ares approaches her, cold and menacing, demanding if she has changed her mind. His voice is filled with malice as he reminds her that this is her last chance to comply. He orders her to kill Kai. The defiant prisoner reacts with disdain. She is horrified by Ares' command to murder his own twin brother, calling him filthy and refusing to follow orders from someone as lowly as him. Enraged, Ares lashes her again, the sound of the whip cracking in the cold, dark cell. Griselda, her magic suppressed by enchanted handcuffs, curses her powerlessness, knowing that if it weren't for the restraints, she would easily retaliate. Ares taunts her further, leaning in close, declaring that she is his slave and must know her place. Despite her pain, the dark elf refuses to yield, but Ares repeats his command with greater urgency. His eyes narrow as he speaks of a prophecy, that today, the brave will be born, and it will likely be Kai. This, Ares believes, will lead to the worst possible outcome, Kai and Colette marrying. Ares, consumed by jealousy, declares that he won't allow it. Both Colette and the brave class are meant for him, he insists, not Kai. Ares reveals his twisted ambitions. Becoming the brave would grant him overwhelming power, including the privilege to take anything he wants, property, respect, even women. In his mind, being the brave would make him unstoppable. He fantasizes about a life filled with luxury and women, imagining himself with different beautiful women of various hair colors. His frustration boils over, and he curses Kai for standing in his way. Ares believes that if Kai were dead, he would inherit the status of the brave and finally have the power and women he desires. Today is his last chance to make this happen. Griselda, despite her weakened state, remains defiant. She lashes out at Ares, disgusted by his selfish desires, calling him scum for wanting to murder his brother just to fulfill his lust. Ares, furious at her refusal, open palms her across the face. He screams in frustration, demanding that she obey and kill Kai, reminding her that he bought her for this very purpose. Griselda, refusing to be broken, declares her pride. She reveals that she is no mere slave, but a vampire with the blood of the Demon Lord flowing through her veins. Even if it means her death, she will never bend to Ares' will. Ares, in a fit of rage, calls her useless trash, lamenting how he spent all his money on her, only to be defied at every turn. Ares, with a cold and determined expression, unsheathes his sword and declares his intent to kill. He raises the sword high above his head, prepared to strike down the prisoner with the same force and precision as an executioner. The prisoner, fully accepting her fate, closes her eyes and prepares for the inevitable blow. Suddenly, another prisoner, a busty, pointed-ear vampire with red eyes, shouts for Ares to stop. She pleads desperately for him to spare Griselda, her voice filled with desperation and urgency. Ares shifts his gaze, initially filled with indifference, toward the pleading captive. Another voice cuts through the tension. Griselda addresses her companion, revealing her name to be Sasha. Sasha and Griselda share a deep bond, and Sasha's past life was cut short, while Griselda somehow survived to become a demon king. Griselda angrily orders Sasha to remain quiet, but Sasha refuses, boldly defying Griselda's command. She begs Ares to allow her to take the place of the prisoner he is about to kill. Ares, mocking her bravery, places his foot on Sasha's face, ridiculing her for being a low-ranked demon and daring to offer herself in exchange. He cruelly slashes at Sasha, causing her to cough up blood in agony as her eyes roll back from the pain. Griselda, furious and heartbroken, screams Sasha's name. Ares then turns his attention toward Griselda, smiling as he walks behind the wounded Sasha, confirming her injuries with a cut across her chest. Blood oozes from the wound, emphasizing her vulnerability. Ares mocks Griselda, asking if this maid is truly that important to her. Unable to respond, Griselda is paralyzed by the horror of Sasha's suffering. Ares taunts her further, cutting Sasha's slightly on the neck and offering a single chance to save her. He demands Griselda to humble herself and declare her loyalty to him, reducing her to a faithful slave. The girl, filled with humiliation and anger, grits her teeth but is forced to confront the reality of the situation. Her precious maid is about to die. Griselda, with the weight of the decision pressing on her, hesitates before agreeing to Ares' demand. She painfully admits her submission, but Sasha, despite her own suffering, cries out for her master not to give up her pride. Griselda, torn between her loyalty to Sasha and her pride, quietly admits she needs her. Ares, now agitated that the two women seem to ignore him, lifts his sword again to finish Sasha. Just as he is about to strike, the prison door bursts open, stopping him in his tracks. Ares turns in shock as a figure unleashes a powerful magic circle, emitting an aura of immense power. The two women, Sasha and Griselda, witness the arrival of a hero with newfound hope in their exhausted faces. Kai, the main character, has broken through the prison door with a blast of magic. Without hesitation, he commands Ares to stop. Ares halts stunned. In a flash, Kai leaps forward, his fist infused with magic, and delivers a devastating punch to Ares, sending his body flying into the wall with a massive impact. The gust of air from the force of the blow silences the room, leaving the two women in awe as they silently observe their hero's action. Kai, having knocked out Ares, turns his gaze toward Griselda and Sasha, the two women he just saved. He expresses his relief, telling them he's thankful that he arrived in time to prevent any further harm. With Ares incapacitated, Kai focuses on ensuring the girls' well-being. Griselda, stunned by their savior, questions his identity, her elven ears perking up in curiosity. Kai calmly addresses her, presuming that she must be Griselda, and asks if it is truly possible for someone like her to become the Demon Lord. This surprises Griselda, who questions the idea of her becoming a Demon Lord. Kai then shifts his attention to Sasha, correctly identifying her as Griselda's companion. With disgust, he condemns Ares' actions, expressing his anger over the cruel treatment inflicted on them. Griselda, bewildered, asks how Kai knows their names. Ignoring her question momentarily, Kai casts a healing spell, Dark Heal, enveloping Sasha in a purple aura that lifts her off the ground. Sasha, in a state of relief, appears as if she is in a warm bath as her wounds heal rapidly. Griselda, astonished, watches as Sasha's wounds vanish almost instantly. Kai then turns to Griselda, offering to heal her as well. As he casts the same healing spell on her, Kai reflects on the situation. He realizes that what stands before him isn't the Demon Lord who once slaughtered countless people, but rather a young girl, enslaved and broken. Griselda is overwhelmed as her body is completely healed, and even the magical chains and shackles binding her disappear. She holds her face in disbelief, amazed at how quickly she has been freed. Griselda and Sasha, now fully healed, look into each other's eyes, filled with joy over their survival. They exclaim that they are finally free, their happiness radiating. Sasha, still processing their escape, mentions that their territory had been stolen by a demon hunter named Urza. This piques Kai's interest, and he asks if she is referring to a red-haired magic swordsman. Both girls are alarmed by his recognition of the name. Sasha, suspicious, demands to know if Kai is a comrade of Urza. Kai, angered by the thought, grits his teeth. He recalls the greed-driven nature of Urza, who led thousands of adventurers to destroy demon territories for profit. In Kai's mind, Urza's lust for wealth drove her to sell kidnapped demons and amass a fortune, all while gaining the support of humans who despise demons. With a bitter tone, Kai explains that being Urza's comrade makes him feel sick. Griselda, now calmer, listens intently to Kai's words. She thanks him sincerely, acknowledging that he is their savior. She asks for his name, and Kai introduces himself as Kai Austin. Griselda connects him to Ares, recognizing that Kai must be the brother of the man who just tried to kill them. She also realizes that Kai is a candidate for the title of Brave, and she questions why he would save demons. Kai hesitates for a moment before revealing that he no longer has a place in human society, showing the Dark Mage mark on his hand. Griselda and Sasha, shocked, recognize it as the mark of a dark heraldry, confirming that Kai is a Dark Mage. Sasha, impressed, notes that Kai's ability to cast 2 high-level spells at once is beyond his apparent age. Griselda, though not fully convinced of Kai's intentions, admits that he did save them. Kai, changing the topic, avoids revealing too much about his past and his reincarnation. He contemplates the reason behind Ares' desire to kill him, and Sasha reveals that Ares sought to kill Kai in order to obtain the Brave class. This revelation shocks Kai, who wonders how long his brother has harbored such intentions. Griselda, assuring Kai of her integrity, states that she refused to participate in Ares' immoral acts, proud of her decision as a true demon. She blushes slightly, a weird smile on her face as she looks gratefully at her savior. Sasha, overjoyed, claps for her master. Griselda expresses her gratitude to Kai once more, acknowledging that if he hadn't come, she would have lost an important friend. Kai, deep in thought, recalls the future where Griselda, after falling into despair over Sasha's death, developed a grudge against humanity and became a ruthless demon lord. He realizes that everything is because of Ares' actions. As he looks at his unconscious brother, Kai considers whether it would be better to kill Ares now and prevent further destruction. Kai summons a magic ball, contemplating whether to take his brother's life. Memories of their childhood together with Colette, where the two brothers played happily, flood his mind. He remembers Colette and realizes that killing Ares would hurt her deeply. Deciding not to kill him, Kai closes his eyes and releases his anger. Griselda interrupts his thoughts, questioning what Kai is doing. He responds calmly, deciding to spare Ares. Reaching towards his forehead, Kai pulls out a red aura and forms a strange red creature with eyes and legs. The small, tadpole-like creature slithers into Ares' mouth, leaving Griselda and Sasha wide-eyed with amazement. Sasha, alarmed, watches as the grotesque thing wriggles its way deeper. Griselda, tense, suspects it's a curse and asks Kai what kind of curse it is. Kai confirms that it is indeed a curse, one that will make Ares' life a living hell. Griselda, still amazed, realizes that Kai's power is far beyond what she had imagined. Sasha expresses confusion about the term living hell, to which Kai ominously responds that she will understand soon. As a red mark begins to form on Ares' forehead, Griselda inspects it with curiosity, noting that it is a splendid curse. Sasha, alarmed, remarks that even demons haven't mastered such dark magic. The situation grows more suspicious. Kai, pretending to understand her concerns, scratches his head and shifts the conversation to their torn clothes, noticing the girl's discomfort. He offers to help, summoning his magic to open a dimensional wardrobe surrounded by his red aura, finding something for them to wear. He leads them upstairs away from the prison, suggesting they change in private. Griselda insists that she will change herself and asks Sasha to send Kai to the next room. As he waits, Kai thinks about the approaching noon, knowing that Ares will soon receive the Brave class, which would heal any damage caused by the curse. His concern shifts to the sacred sword, but his thoughts are interrupted by Griselda, who enters wearing a maid's uniform. She shyly admits it's her first time wearing such attire. Kai compliments her, making her blush. Sasha, also dressed as a maid, is astonished that Griselda is in such an outfit. Griselda, however, praises Sasha, and both express mutual appreciation. Kai then asks for a moment to explain something important. As they sit on the couch, Griselda is shocked when Kai reveals that he came from 5 years in the future, where she was the demon lord. She questions his seriousness, and Kai further explains that he was killed by Ares in the future and betrayed by the Braves party. The bitter memories visibly affect him as he confesses that this is why he no longer trusts the Brave or others. Sasha, reflecting on Kai's powerful magic skills, begins to believe him, especially recalling her own experience with his black magic. She concludes that Griselda becoming the Demon Lord seems like reliable information. Griselda, while still processing everything, notes that if Kai were setting a trap, he would likely come up with a better lie, and she reminds Sasha that Kai is their savior. Satisfied that they believe him, Kai declares that his next move is to destroy Urza, which alarms Griselda. She explains that Urza has enslaved her people and is stealing valuable resources from their territory, leaving her people to suffer. Kai assures her that he will recover everything, placing his hand on his chest. Griselda, with tears in her eyes, expresses deep gratitude, saying that she will finally be able to face her late father with pride. Sasha supports her sentiment. In exchange for helping her people, Kai asks if he and his fiancée, Colette, can live in Griselda's land. Griselda acknowledges the engagement, realizing that this is what Kai meant when he asked for her cooperation earlier. She agrees, noting that it would not be a problem. Kai informs them that Colette is about to receive the Saint class that very day. This revelation panics Griselda, as she knows that taking the Saint away will provoke retaliation from the Holy Kingdom. Kai calmly reassures her, telling her to leave it to him. He is prepared for any attack from the Holy Kingdom in the future. Before he can finish his sentence, a vase is knocked off the stand, and the entire house begins to crack and crumble. Kai, focused and quick to act, grabs both Griselda and Sasha and moves them outside in a flash. The girls, confused by how they were suddenly outside, realize that Kai has saved them. They look toward the house, which has been reduced to flames and rubble, and a menacing figure emerges from the fire, approaching them confidently. Kai, ready to confront the threat, tells the girls to stay behind him. Griselda, grinding her teeth in frustration, wonders if Kai was always this fast. The figure continues to approach with a menacing smile. Kai stands calmly, observing his brother Ares, who greets him with a sinister grin. Ares, full of arrogance, taunts his brother, but Kai's expression remains unchanged, his aura subtly visible. Ares, seething with anger, insults Kai and prepares for battle. In response, Kai summons the demon sword Tilfing from the depths of hell. The earth beneath Ares fractures violently as the sword rushes towards Kai's palm, emitting a terrifying red aura. Kai grasps the sword, recognizing it as the favored weapon of Demon Lord Griselda from his future, a blade that amplifies its wielder's power based on their dark magic. For someone like Kai, with a level 999 in a Black Mage class, it's the perfect weapon. Ares, caught off guard by the sword's menacing appearance, begins to tremble in Kai's shadow, but quickly forces a laugh, regaining some of his bravado. Kai, taking an orthodox stance, exposes the back of his hand, displaying his heraldries. Ares, shocked, identifies Kai as a Black Mage and scoffs at his brother's supposed misfortune. He boasts that he, unlike Kai, has received the prestigious Brave class. As Ares revels in his supposed superiority, he summons Sacred Sword Durandal, his aura glowing with a powerful blue light, a visual symbol of his newfound confidence. Griselda and Sasha watch from the sidelines, feeling the immense magic emanating from Ares' sword. Griselda can't believe this man is the Brave, while Sasha notes the terrifying power of the weapon. Meanwhile, Kai's thoughts drift back to his past life. Durandal had once killed him. Ares, overflowing with confidence, orders Kai to surrender, mocking him for being a mere Black Mage in the face of the unbeatable Sacred Sword. Kai, unfazed by Ares' bravado, tells him to stop blabbering and challenges him to attack. He taunts Ares, threatening to break the sacred sword he is so proud of and warning that if Ares loses to a Black Mage, he will never be able to show his face again. Enraged, Ares charges forward with both hands gripping Durandal, aiming to strike Kai. But Kai, with graceful precision, dodges the attack with a slight tilt of his head. Ares continues slashing at Kai, but the blows miss each time. As he watches his brother's futile attempts, Kai observes that while Durandal has immense magical power, it is wasted in Ares' inexperienced hands. Growing frustrated, Ares hurls insults at Kai, accusing him of cowardice, but Kai remains calm, fully aware that despite Ares' title as Brave, his brother is still only a level 1 novice at best. As Ares slices his sword towards Kai, Kai receives a sudden notification screen, revealing he has unlocked a hidden class in his second life, Dark Star. Stunned, he sees another notification confirming the class, a mysterious new power Kai has never encountered before. While Kai remains distracted by the notifications, Ares attempts to take advantage, launching an attack with a battle cry. However, Kai is still focused on the information about his new class, easily dodging Ares' strikes without effort. Kai reads the details of his new class, Dark Star, a special class available only to those who mastered the Black Mage class in their first life. This class allows mastery of dark attribute skills, and through performing evil deeds, one can earn evil points EP to acquire even more abilities. As a blue slash from Ares' sword approaches his neck, Kai dodges effortlessly while continuing to study the notifications. The system explains that by performing evil acts, one can accumulate EP to exchange for skills. Suddenly, Kai receives a congratulatory notification for gaining 1000 EP after unknowingly assisting demons and becoming hostile to the Brave. Amused by the situation, Kai watches more notifications pop up as he dodges Ares' attacks. He learns of the skills available for purchase with his newly earned EP, Summon Demon Sword, Deathbringer, Darkness Clone, and others. As he scrolls through the options, he focuses on Summon Demon Sword, thinking it would be a powerful addition to his arsenal. He promptly exchanges 1000 EP for the skill and summons the new sword. Ares, still focused on defeating Kai, yells at him to stop looking away, but Kai mocks his slowness, assuring him it will be hard to land a hit. Kai admired his newly acquired demon sword, its jagged ridged blade gleaming under a thick red aura that pulsed with dark energy. Griselda, watching from a distance, is shocked to recognize the sword as her father's demon sword. Ares, curious about the weapon, questions if it truly is a demon sword. With a mere swing of his newly acquired blade, Kai unleashes a powerful energy wave at Ares from a distance. The attack narrowly misses Ares' head but cuts through the house behind him, reducing it to rubble and flames. initially unaware of his fresh trim and the destruction, turns and sees the demolished house in disbelief. He panics, shocked by the absurdity of Kai's power, wondering if this is the true strength of the demon's sword. Kai clarifies that the sword is not the sole source of power. Instead, it converts his magic into destructive force. Despite his fear, Ares starts laughing again, boasting about the sacred sword Durandal, whose light attribute counters Kai's dark powers. The sacred sword, he claims, grows stronger when facing darkness, and Ares' confidence surges as the sword's light intensifies. Ares, filled with arrogance, declares he will show Kai the true power of the sacred sword, readying himself for a final strike. With a battle cry, Ares unleashes a massive wave of blue light energy, intending to obliterate Kai. Griselda, terrified by the overwhelming amount of magic, pleads for Kai to avoid the attack. Even Sasha, normally composed, shows concern, fearing that Kai may not survive the blast. A powerful explosion follows, leaving a crater where Kai once stood. Griselda and Sasha, horrified, fear the worst as they see no sign of Kai, assuming he has been vaporized. Ares laughs maniacally, gloating over his victory, believing he has finally killed his brother. He imagines a future where everything, money, status, honor, and even women like Colette, will be his. Griselda drops to her knees in despair, unable to believe Kai has been defeated. Ares turns his attention to the two girls, warning them they should have fled while they had the chance, and now it is their turn to face his wrath. Sasha holds Griselda, comforting her as they brace for what might come next. Kai reappears before Ares with a determined expression, proclaiming that he had been waiting for this moment. He asks Ares if he truly thought he had one. Ares, panicked, raises his sword in fright, struggling to understand how Kai survived. Kai calmly explains that while a demon sword cannot normally scratch a sacred sword, the final strike skill temporarily depletes the magic of the sacred sword, leaving it vulnerable. Kai remembers witnessing this weakness many times during his first life. Kai prepares to attack, stating that it is time for the sword of the brave to disappear from the world. He swings his demon's sword at Ares, who attempts to defend with his now depleted sacred sword. Kai confidently believes that he can destroy the sacred blade, and with one powerful strike, the sacred sword fractures and shatters. Ares, in disbelief, stares at his broken sword before being sent flying into the air by the impact, crashing onto the ground with blood splattering from his mouth. Kai observes the destructive power of his demon sword and realizes that while it is powerful, it consumes a massive amount of magic, allowing him to use it for only about 15 minutes at most. He reflects on how, if he had used it when he was at level 1, he would have destroyed himself instantly. The hidden class of his second life, Dark Star, is indeed troublesome. Kai receives a notification congratulating him for destroying the sacred sword and defeating the brave, earning him 3,000 EP. Griselda, who had been watching the fight, rushes to Kai, overjoyed to see that he is alive and victorious. Sasha, a demon, expresses relief and gratitude. Kai looks back at them with a confident smile as he stores his sword in his inventory. He assures them that Ares, though still breathing, will not awaken any time soon. Griselda, still worried, asks if they need to be concerned, but Kai explains that the reviving life spell can only be used once per day. As they look down at Ares, the curse mark on his forehead begins to stir and move. Griselda notices the curse shifting toward Ares' heraldry. Kai explains that when Ares attempts to harm others, the curse transforms the light heraldry into the darkness heraldry. The light heraldry symbolizes honor and glory, while the darkness heraldry is the opposite. From now on, Ares will be known as a brave imposter, and the Austin family's reputation will fall. This, Kai explains, is his revenge against Ares and their father, who had taken away his life. The destruction of the sacred sword is equivalent to killing Ares, and the resulting commotion will be widespread. Griselda approaches Kai, addressing him as Kai-sama, which surprises him. She excitedly declares that with the destruction of the sacred sword and the defeat of the brave, there is no doubt that Kai is the savior of the demon race and the new demon lord. Kai is alarmed at this unexpected title, questioning if he is truly the demon lord. Meanwhile, in the forest, Colette is resting by a river with her horse. Speaking aloud, she wonders what Kai is doing at that moment. A small red-faced creature responds, reassuring her that there is no need to worry and that Kai should be avoiding the birth of the demon lord. It becomes clear that this creature is the archdemon that Kai had summoned earlier to protect Colette. Colette expresses relief that Kai is safe, and the archdemon, now in a smaller form to remain inconspicuous, assures her that nothing in the world can rival Kai. Colette playfully comments on the archdemon's tiny form, surprised to see him like this. The archdemon explains that it is merely a form to hide from the world and vows to protect her. As he shows off his smaller form, complete with horns, wings, and a tail, Colette lovingly strokes him between his sharp horns. She admires the cute sound his wings make as he flies around. Suddenly, the archdemon warns Colette that they need to hide, as a group of mounted holy knights approaches. Colette, still somewhat naive, asks why they should hide. The archdemon explains that since Colette, the strongest saint, has disappeared, the knights must be searching for her with desperation. Realizing the danger, Colette agrees, but her thoughts turn to Kai, hoping that he will come to her rescue soon. The scene shifts back to the trio as Griselda excitedly addresses Kai as Demon Lord Sama. Kai, confused, responds with hesitation, telling her to calm down and explaining that just because he could use the demon sword doesn't necessarily make him the demon lord. Griselda, however, insists otherwise, reminding him that the ability to summon demon sword is exclusive to the demon lord class, and this serves as undeniable proof. Sasha joins in, agreeing that to destroy the sacred sword and defeat the brave is a feat only achievable by someone hailed as the strongest demon lord in history. They both affirm that Kai has every right to claim that title. Internally, Kai realizes that this misunderstanding could be problematic, but also acknowledges that being accepted as the demon lord by demons could prove convenient for him. He contemplates whether to embrace this newfound title, muttering to himself about the idea of being a demon lord. Griselda, still enthusiastic, tells Kai that now that they know he is the demon lord, there is only one thing left to do: sign a demon subordination contract. She explains this with great excitement, but seeing Kai's confusion, she questions whether he's unaware of the contract. She goes on to explain that the demon subordination contract is a special skill of the demon lord. Those who sign the contract are granted classes by the demon lord and are greatly strengthened, swearing absolute loyalty in return. Kai, still perplexed by the term subordination, calls up his status screen to investigate what Griselda has said. As he examines his abilities, he discovers that his acquirable skills have increased, and he notices the newly available demon subordination contract skill. It is revealed that the release condition for this skill was to destroy the brave's sacred sword, a requirement that he met in the previous battle. Reading further, Kai learns the specific details of the classes he can grant through the contract. Demon Captain grants a 1.2x increase in attack power and allows the individual to borrow one skill. This title can only be given to 16 individuals. Demon General provides a 1.5x increase in all stats and allows the individual to borrow 2 skills. This title can only be given to 8 individuals. 4 Heavenly Kings doubles all stats and allows the individual to borrow up to 3 skills. This title is limited to 4 individuals. Kai realizes that the extraordinary strength of the demon army's leader was due to the effects of the demon subordination contract. Alarmed, he continues reading and discovers that the agreement between the two parties transfers the class, and it's also possible to deprive someone of their class by terminating the contract. Additionally, those who rebel against their lord are subject to death, further solidifying the absolute loyalty required by the contract. Kai begins to comprehend the true weight and power of the Demon Lord title he's now associated with. Kai, stunned by the implications of the demon subordination contract, questions the seriousness of a contract that enforces death on those who betray their loyalty. Griselda, however, reassures him that it is a tradition, a responsibility for any new demon lord. She adds that Kai, being a good-hearted individual, should not be doubted. Accepting the explanation, Kai acknowledges the gravity of the situation and decides to proceed. He turns to Griselda and Sasha, asking if they are ready for what comes next. Both women kneel, expressing their unwavering loyalty. Griselda confidently states that it is what she desires, while Sasha, though overwhelmed, feels honored by the opportunity. Kai, having now acquired the Demon Subordination contract skill, decides to bestow the Demon General class upon Sasha. Shocked at first, Sasha questions whether someone of her rank, a relatively weaker demon, is worthy of such a title. Griselda, however, reassures her, stating that the Demon General title is not solely based on strength but also on loyalty, something Sasha embodies fully. Inspired by Griselda's words, Sasha finds her resolve and humbly asks Kai to grant her the Demon General class, pledging her absolute loyalty to him. Kai, satisfied, grants Sasha the power, and she immediately feels a surge of overwhelming strength. Griselda is impressed, observing that the contract has transformed Sasha into a Demon General. With Sasha now empowered, Griselda eagerly steps forward, requesting the prestigious 4 Heavenly Kings class, which would give her the power to protect the demons. She pledges her loyalty to Kai with confidence, knowing that her destiny aligns with his. Kai reflects on Griselda's natural leadership abilities, thinking that even if left on her own, she would have likely risen to the position of Demon Lord herself. Nevertheless, he grants her request. As Kai bestows the title of 4 Heavenly Kings upon Griselda, An immense aura radiates from her, towering over the nearby houses. The sheer magnitude of her new power is palpable, and a heraldry appears on the back of her hand, marking her elevated rank. Both Kai and Sasha look on in amazement at the display of power. Sasha, still in awe, congratulates Griselda, addressing her with newfound respect. Griselda, now part of Kai's elite circle, is exhilarated, raising her hands in celebration and declaring that a portion of Kai's immense power now resides within her. She proudly proclaims herself one of Kai's 4 heavenly kings, eager to fulfill her new role. Kai, impressed by Griselda's transformation and strength, acknowledges her as the demon lord she was destined to be. Sasha, too, expresses her excitement, vowing to grow even stronger under Kai's command. The two women embrace each other joyfully, united in their loyalty and their shared vision of building a new world under Kai's leadership. Kai, reflecting on recent events, realizes that defeating Ares and gaining the allegiance of the Demon Lord has significantly altered the course of his fate. Yet, before he can dwell on this realization, the sound of rhythmic clanking, heavy boots, and the jingle of weapons reaches his ears, growing louder with each step. A voice cuts through the tense atmosphere, demanding an explanation. Kai's father, the divine knight Geese, enters the scene, leading a squad of knights wielding silver spears. Wearing golden plate armor, he draws his sword, looking at his son with confusion and disgust. His eyes survey the aftermath of battle, focusing on the unconscious Ares lying on the floor. With a stern voice, Geese demands to know why Ares is defeated and why Kai is standing with demons. His face hardens as he calls out to his son, expecting an answer. Kai, displeased with the confrontation, raises his arm, signaling his new demon subordinates to stay back. Griselda, noticing the firm tension, questions who this new figure is. Kai responds that the man before them is the commander of the Holy Knights, his father. The knights accompanying Geese check on Ares, confirming that he is still alive. Geese, growing more furious, turns back to Kai, demanding to know why his son missed the ceremonial reveal of his supposed heroic destiny. Kai, with a calm yet defiant demeanor, informs his father that he is not the hero they anticipated, but a Black Mage. Geese is taken aback, unable to comprehend Kai's revelation. He had expected his son to take on the mantle of the brave, the hero of their order. Kai, undeterred, shows the dark heraldry on his hand, proudly announcing his new path as the Demon Lord. Geese stares in disbelief, recognizing the symbol of dark magic. Anger boils over as he accuses Kai of forsaking the family's pride and the sense of justice that defines the Austin family. But Kai, clenching his fist, retorts that the so-called justice of his father was nothing more than an excuse for cruelty. He recalls the endless torture, threats, and deceit, including his father's role in concealing the birth of the Demon Lord. Kai remembers how his father once told him that subjugating the Demon Lord would allow him to return to the Austin family, but now he sees through the hollow promises. He calls out the hypocrisy, asserting that his father's so-called justice is nothing but selfish ego. If being aligned with such principles meant being good, then Kai is more than willing to be labeled as evil. Geese, enraged, accuses his son of being corrupted by the dark powers of his class. He warns that things will not go as they usually do. Kai, however, remains unfazed, coldly declaring that the Austin family is now useless, and expelling himself from their legacy. With a snap of his fingers, Kai commands, "Expel." Flames suddenly engulf the buildings behind Geese, catching the commander and his knights by surprise. Alarmed, the knights rush to their leader, shouting that the town is burning, with fires spreading to the mansion and nearby stables. Civilians flee in panic, trying to escape the rising chaos. Geese, overwhelmed, turns to Kai, demanding to know if he was responsible for the fire. Griselda, curious, asks when Kai had prepared such a massive blaze. Kai, nonchalant, explains that while searching for her earlier, he took the liberty of preparing the fire for dramatic effect. He assures them there will be no casualties, as he had strategically placed magic circles throughout the area. As the fire rages on, Kai receives a notification from his internal system, congratulating him on successfully setting his parents' house ablaze. The system deems the act a wonderful evil deed and rewards him with 500 EP. Amused by the unexpected reward, Kai realizes that the system is well suited for revenge. As he studies the notifications, he notes a new skill called Dark Attribute Enhancement, which promises to increase the power of dark magic with each level gained. Kai, pleased with the development, sees this as another step forward in his path as the Demon Lord. Betrayed and furious, Geese demands to know how Kai could have turned against his family. Kai coldly declares that the Austin family must perish, dismissing their twisted concept of justice. Geese, overcome with rage, orders his soldiers to kill Kai, renouncing him as his child. Without hesitation, The soldiers charge at Kai with their spears, but their movements are too slow. In a swift motion, Kai counters their attacks, striking with precision at the vulnerable gaps in their armor. His strikes leave behind a trace of his aura as he calmly commands them to sleep for a while. Geese, unwilling to back down, charges at Kai himself. He taunts his son, claiming that the soldiers were mere pawns meant to be discarded from the start. Kai, fully aware, summons his demon sword, Filthing, to block his father's strike. Enraged, Geese recognizes the sword, but before he can react further, Kai is faster. With a swift slash, Kai severs his father's sword arm, leaving Geese staring in shock as his arm falls to the ground. One of Geese's soldiers rushes to his side, bringing his sword to him as the commander cries out in pain. He looks up at Kai and accuses him of abandoning his humanity for a demon sword. Through gritted teeth and a smug grin, he tells Kai that he has failed, as Geese attempts to recover. Using his knight's recovery skill, confident that his arm will regenerate, Geese's smile fades as he realizes his arm is not healing. Kai calmly explains that he used the Eternal Blood Magic skill, a superior ability that prevents all forms of recovery. This skill, accessible only to high-level Black Mages, had been cast the moment Kai struck him. Geese, stunned by the revelation, realizes the severity of his wound as Kai adds that not even a saint could reverse the damage. Out of a twisted sense of filial duty, Kai at least stopped the bleeding. Now kneeling in defeat, Geese clutches the remains of his arm, his sword lying useless before him. He questions how Kai, who had only recently obtained his class, could have gained such immense power. Kai coldly replies that a warrior who has lost their dominant arm is as good as dead, and his father's so-called justice no longer holds any sway. Desperation creeps into Geese's voice as he calls out to his son, but Kai remains unmoved. His mind flashes back to the memories of his past life, how his father led Colette away from him, her tears flowing as she whispered promises that they would meet again. He remembers his brother's betrayal, how he had been ordered to kill him, acting on their father's command. At that moment, a notification appears in Kai's system, congratulating him for leaving his father beyond recovery and rewarded him with 500 EP. Commander Geese's face contorted into a freakish grin, a twisted mixture of pain, disbelief, and perhaps a final surge of pride. Despite his injury and the overwhelming situation, Geese's expression remained defiant, as if he still found some perverse satisfaction or confidence in the face of his son's actions. This unnerving grin only deepened the eerie atmosphere. Will the father, now crippled, continue to resist in his own way, even in defeat? Kai's father, upon seeing Ares, exclaims that if Kai is not the brave, then Ares must surely be blessed with the brave title. He believes in the prophecy of Saint Johann, which he holds as absolute. Kai remains silent, staring at his father as the older man, overwhelmed by the thought of Ares becoming the brave, orders the use of recovery magic on Ares. His hope is to defeat the evil Black Mage with the help of the brave. However, a guard inspecting Ares points out something alarming, and Kai's father notices the darkness heraldry on Ares. Shocked, he declares that Ares couldn't have received the black magic class as well, and he refuses to believe that Saint Johann's prophecy could be wrong. Kai, observing the situation, internally confirms that the prophecy is not incorrect. In fact, Ares did receive the brave class, but because of Kai's curse, the light heraldry was camouflaged as the darkness heraldry. Kai understands that Saint Johann, with his unique skill of seeing fragments of the future within 7 days, poses the greatest threat to his plans. He resolves to eliminate Johann as soon as possible. Kai then asks his father if Ares is to be expelled as well, mockingly commenting that all his father's work led to Ares receiving a demonic class and insinuating that the Austin family is finished. His father, devastated by the thought, cries out in anguish, lamenting the ruin of the Austin family's glory. A guard hesitantly asks if they should cast recovery magic on Ares, but Kai's father, filled with disgust, refuses, calling Ares a dirty being and stating that the family has no need for someone with a dark status. He orders the guards to take care of Ares, effectively casting him aside. Kai, observing his father's foolishness, notes to himself that the brave is right there all along. With Ares losing his position as an aristocrat, Kai realizes he has achieved his first goal and that his business here is done. He tells his father that he will take his leave. Kai's father, shocked, asks if Kai is really going to side with the demons, reminding him that he is the legitimate son of the Austin family. Kai, remembering his past, confirms his decision. He reflects that Colette is the only human he can trust. With that, Kai tells his companions, Griselda and Sasha, that it is time to go. Griselda admires Kai, calling him a tremendous man, and Sasha agrees. As Kai looks at the two demon women, he thinks to himself that demons have a bigger heart than humans. He considers them too bright for someone like him, who has suffered through the ugliness of humans. With one final farewell to his father, Kai departs with his allies, leaving behind the wreckage of his family. As Kai and his companions exited the castle gates, the guard on duty called out in confusion and fear, seeking answers about the events inside. Without hesitation, Kai saw this as the ideal moment to sever ties with his family. He instructed the guard to inform his father that no further farewells were needed and that any pursuers would be eliminated. The guard, visibly shaken, nervously acknowledged the command, gripping his spear tightly. He watched in disbelief as Kai and his companions vanished through the use of shadow instantaneous movement. Several miles away, the trio reappeared through the teleportation spell. Sasha, struck by the efficiency of the magic, remarked on how useful it was for covering such distance so quickly. Griselda, equally impressed by the power on display, praised Kai for the lack of mercy shown toward his father in their recent encounter. Kai acknowledged Griselda's admiration, but his focus shifted quickly. There was still much to be done. Before heading to Griselda's territory, Kai expressed a desire to stop at Lakis village, where Colette resided. He deemed it necessary to train Sasha and Griselda further before they moved on. Griselda, eager at the prospect of becoming stronger, inquired whether more strength could still be gained. Kai responded by extending his hand, enveloping the two women in a dark aura, sharing his power through a level 10 dark attribute enhancer. As the energy flowed into them, Griselda was overcome by its intensity, and Sasha found it overwhelming. Kai explained the mechanics of the demon subordination contract, the unique ability that allowed him to lend skills to his subordinates without losing the ability to use them himself. It was less about lending and more akin to sharing power. Though both women were visibly drained by the experience, they expressed gratitude for the newfound strength. Kai, sensing their exhaustion, suggested they take a brief rest. The group settled on logs in the forest, using the moment to recover. As the others rested, Kai's thoughts turned inward. He retrieved a bracelet given to him by Colette, its magic still present despite its broken state. Activating the item appraisal skill, he examined the bracelet, revealing it to be a time bracelet, a relic designed to pray for reunions with loved ones. It had once held the power to manipulate time, but now only served to increase magical defense. The realization that the Austin family, who had torn him and Colette apart, had already been destroyed brought a sense of closure. Kai believed the future could still be altered and envisioned a joyful reunion with Colette. He wondered if Colette, once thought to be just a saintess, might hold even greater power, perhaps tied to the saintess of time. With renewed determination, Kai resolved to reach Colette as soon as possible. Griselda, noticing Kai's introspection, asked if something was troubling him. He dismissed the concern, assuring that nothing was wrong. After resting, Griselda, filled with energy, expressed eagerness to continue, and Sasha agreed, emphasizing caution in their next steps. Kai remained focused, with thoughts of Colette driving him forward. Meanwhile, in a distant location, a mysterious figure observed events unfolding. Jonathan, a high-class priest, had finally found what he had been searching for, the saintess of time. His discovery marked the beginning of a new hunt. Later, in the village of Lakis, Saint Jonah and his followers began questioning the local residents. Jonah stood over a man bound tightly, holding his holy book, while one of his subordinates threatened the captive with a sword. Jonah, feigning humility, questioned the man. After gathering all the information they needed, Jonah coldly announced that they had discovered enough to pinpoint St. Colette's location and that the questioning was no longer necessary. He ordered his subordinates to erase the memories of the villagers using magic and then release them. The subordinates complied without hesitation. The villagers, alarmed and confused, protested in panic, terrified at the idea of losing their memories. One of the men, his voice shaking, begged them not to use such dangerous magic, claiming he had heard it could drive people mad. Jonah adjusted his glasses with a mocking smirk and, calling the man selfish, told him he would do him a favor. He commanded his subordinate to kill the man, who broke out in cold sweat upon hearing his death sentence. Turning to the rest of the villagers, Jonah asked if anyone else objected to the memory-erasing magic. Fearful, the crowd quickly denied any opposition. Jonah chuckled at their reaction, remarking how lucky it was that there was only one defiant soul. In the nearby forest surrounding Lakis, Colette was fleeing desperately from two of Jonah's subordinates who were hot on her trail. Panting heavily, she pushed herself to keep running. Jonah raised his hand, commenting that the Pope's prayers would surely reach the saint and save her. He reflected that it made no difference whether he became a hero or a demon king. All he wanted was a second chance at life. Only the saintess of time could fulfill that desire, and his prophecy skill assured him that Colette, the daughter of the Marquis of Vaughn, would not slip through his grasp. One of Jonah's subordinates questioned why he was allowing Colette to run. Jonah mused that perhaps she had mistaken them for mere bandits in the darkness. He doubted she had sensed their true purpose, even with her powers. Exhausted, Colette stumbled into a building, only to realize she had cornered herself with no escape. Jonah's subordinates quickly caught up with her. The archdemon cursed under his breath, regretting that he hadn't acted faster. Despite the dire situation, Colette remained calm and suggested they could perhaps resolve things through conversation. Not long after, Saint Jonah arrived, addressing Colette by name and expressing his joy at finally meeting her. Bowing slightly, he scrutinized her carefully. Unintimidated, Colette sternly addressed him as Riley. Jonah's attention was suddenly drawn to her heraldry on the back of her hand, and he wondered aloud if she was truly the saintess of time. Colette, staying composed, asked why they had caused such chaos. Jonas explained that they were there for her. He had learned through a prophecy that a new demon king had risen, and they needed her to establish a holy barrier around the capital for protection. Colette, her face full of displeasure, rejected the request. She told Jonah it was his duty to handle the situation. With conviction, she pressed her hand to her chest and declared that a true hero named Kai had already prevented the Demon King's emergence, and there was nothing to fear. Jonah looked at her, confused by her confidence. Colette pressed further, reminding him that his prophecy had foretold the rise of a Demon King that day, with half the population doomed to perish. However, since the event hadn't occurred yet, Colette realized that Kai had already intervened. Saint Jonah, intrigued, burst into laughter and questioned how she knew about his prediction. Colette, unwavering, responded that Kai had told her, although she admitted Jonah likely wouldn't believe it. Kai, she revealed, had traveled back from the future and saved countless lives. Today, she declared, Kai was the true hero. Saint Jonah burst into manic laughter, shouting in disbelief about the existence of someone living a second life. He pointed out that this person was none other than Kai Austin, the son of the Austin family. And Jonah coldly stated that Kai had nearly killed his own brother with dark powers, turned against his family, and set his house ablaze before running away. As Colette protested, Jonah dismissed her words, adamant that his predictions were always accurate. He declared Kai Austin to be the Demon King, and was shocked that Colette seemed to be on his side. Jonah, seizing the moment, ordered his men to capture Colette, realizing that taking her hostage could force Kai into submission. As Jonah's ambitions grew, believing that the Holy Maiden of Time held the key to his goal of a second life, an archdemon suddenly appeared behind Colette. The demon revealed its true form and attacked, leaving Jonah's men paralyzed with fear. The archdemon protected Colette, proving that Kai's warnings had been right all along. Saint Jonah, in a panic, blamed the Emperor for his actions and pleaded for mercy. Colette, watching the chaos unfold, ordered him to surrender, which he reluctantly agreed to do. But Jonah, with a sly smile, tricked Colette into believing he was remorseful. As Jonah handed a potion to his wounded men, he tricked them into drinking it. The potion transformed his subordinates into powerful beings, nearly matching the archdemon's strength. A fierce battle erupted between the archdemon and Jonah's enhanced men, forcing Colette to retreat in fear. Amidst the clash, Jonah trapped Colette with a light spell, aiming a holy arrow at her. Just as the arrow was about to strike, the archdemon shielded Colette, taking the hit. In agony, he spat blood as he stumbled, leaving Colette devastated by his sacrifice. Jonah's subordinates, seeing their advantage, prepared to finish off the archdemon. Jonah, adjusting his glasses, claimed that light always triumphed over darkness. His knights moved in for the final blow, their swords glowing with magic, ready to strike down the fallen archdemon. Saint Jonah smirked as he taunted the archdemon, dismissing its actions as mere theatrics. Colette accused Jonah of hypocrisy, questioning how he could call himself a saint after such cruel behavior. Jonah laughed it off, insisting that as a saint, he was the embodiment of justice. The archdemon, weak and defeated, called out to Colette to save herself before vanishing. Colette stared in disbelief, horrified by the loss. Jonah's mutated subordinate celebrated his victory, but his triumph was short-lived as he suddenly collapsed, his body tearing apart from the strain. The wounded subordinate begged Jonah for help, but Jonah coldly told him to stay away. Colette rushed to aid the subordinate, desperately trying to heal him. Touched by her kindness, the subordinate thanked her, but his body soon exploded, splattering blood onto Colette. Jonah approached with a sneer, saying that the situation was ugly and needed a change. Colette, shaken, demanded to know if Jonah had planned this outcome all along. Jonah, holding his book, admitted that the potion he'd given his men was designed to boost their magic at the cost of their strength. Colette wept, accusing Jonah of being worse than the demon he claimed to oppose. Jonah feigned sympathy, offering her a false hug. Turning to his men, Jonah declared an emergency, accusing Colette of being brainwashed by a demon. As Colette protested, he trapped her in a binding spell. He warned her that any resistance would tighten the chains, laughing when she cried out that Kai could never be their enemy. Jonah mocked her feelings for Kai, predicting that her love would only bring her pain. One of Jonah's subordinates, horrified by his cruelty, begged him to stop. Jonah silenced him with a shot to the forehead, dismissing him as another heretic. Colette, in disbelief, warned Jonah that he would face divine judgment for his actions. Jonah scoffed, declaring himself to be the true agent of justice. As the chains tightened around Colette, she thought of Kai and whispered an apology. Jonah, relishing his victory, announced that with a holy maiden under his control, the Demon King's second life would soon be over. Meanwhile, Kai was returning from the forest, wondering if Colette had safely reached the village. As he arrived home, he was greeted with the aroma of a freshly cooked meal. But suddenly, pain shot through his hand, where he bore the mark that linked him to the archdemon. Realizing something was wrong, he used telepathy to contact the archdemon. The archdemon's weak voice responded, revealing that Colette had been captured. Kai was left stunned, overwhelmed by the news that his beloved was in danger.